Well, given the turmoil surrounding Pakistan coming into this Test match, they will say that that is a pretty decent day. But they haven't got away from England with their run rate. How would you sum up the day?
Well, firstly, a more enjoyable day watching, much more watchable when there's something, either reverse swing or a bit of spin. That first day of the first test, first 5 days of that first test, there wasn't much of that. So at least we had some kind of sideways lateral movement. And without sitting on the fence, I honestly think both sides walk off there going, we've done okay there. For the turmoil that you say about Pakistan cricket and the week they've had and the few weeks they've had, lost 6 in a row, and picking people on debut who've come in, Kamran immediately getting 100, and who he's replacing, Babar Azam, one of the all-time greats of Pakistan cricket. The selectors will breathe a sigh of relief with that one. But England as well, I say it was lateral movement, but it was bouncing shin high. There was no pace, and it was still a real lot of toil and hard work to try and get 5 wickets on that surface. So you imagine Stokes and McCullum look at that dressing room and go, do you know what, lads, you did pretty well today.
Some debut, though.
Yeah, and some debut again from who he's replacing. He's had to wait his turn. He's been scoring prolific runs in the last 3 years, had to wait around for a long time. And the moment he came in, he got the right balance between attack and defence. They'd lost a couple of early wickets, which I always found actually on debut, you want to get out there. You don't want to be waiting to bat. So I think it would have helped him to get in relatively early. And then we know he can play that slog sweep now. That's the shot he played to get to 100. Pakistan players generally love the sweep shot. He's got that in his locker, the full variety. He used his feet well as well. He's got a bit of Steve Smith about him when he defends the ball and when he charges. He's got a bit of swagger about him, and that was the lovely 100 moment. His family were here, his friends were here. The long wait that he's had to have, that was pretty special.
Well, let's have a look at the high scores on debut for Pakistan batsmen. There's some brilliant names there. If you look at Javed Miandad, etc. Kamran Ghulam sits there at number 7, 118 today. Delighted to say that fresh from her flash interview, the other side of the ground, Urooj joins myself and Nasser. Nasser, just earlier, you weren't here, was saying he felt that both sides today would be pretty happy. How would you see it from a Pakistan point of view?
I think just given everything that transpired in the last 3 days, for them to make such drastic changes, contrasting approaches, new personnel brought in, I think they'll be very happy. 259 for 5. The guy who they bring in to replace arguably one of the best batsmen going around puts his hand up, tells us the importance of the hard yards he's put into the first-class setup, and he brings 118 of his. Even Sigh, I thought he was good. Again, probably slightly must have been disappointed not to convert into a big score. But in spite of losing those wickets, 5 wickets, on a slowish turner with that reverse swing, I think Pakistan will be very happy at 259.
Kamran obviously replacing one of the irreplaceables, really, in Babar. What has the press said about that? I mean, not just that Babar's been left out, because that's the headline act, but who was replacing him? Has there been extra scrutiny and extra pressure externally, not just from a guy that's making his debut?
I think from Kamran Ghulam, he's been the one name that has been on the benches for a very long time in the outside part, where he's been one person who's churned out the runs at the domestic level. Since 2020, he's averaging about 50 in domestic cricket. Even this year with 300s, averaging about 66. So he's the one name that did warrant a place. So I don't think there was much scrutiny in the negative sense around Kamran Ghulam replacing Babar. I think the bigger umbrella or the overarching picture was about dropping Babar, essentially. But I think Kamran definitely deserves a place, and surely he's grabbed the opportunity by the scruff of the neck.
England at times had him under pressure and they kept the scoring rate down. There was a couple of big release shots that perhaps could have got him into trouble. What do you make of that? Is that just a guy that wants to score? Is it the pressure of Test debut? Am I being a bit picky here?
I don't think you're being picky. There were a couple of big shots in there, but I think that's the sort of pitch. My general rule is the flatter it is, why take the risk and play the big shot and bring the bowler into it? When the odd one's turning and it is spinning and reverse swinging, you have to put the pressure back on the bowler. So I like the reverse sweep. Bowlers, any spinner will tell you that if you're bowling your best ball on a length and it's been slog swept for 4 and 6, you don't have many places to go. So I like that, and I quite like the charge down the pitch. There was a period in the middle of the day where Pakistan were going nowhere because of the reverse swing, and Rizwan was really struggling when he started. So it was up to Kamran to actually say, I've got to put the pressure back on you. Look how England play. That's what England try and do. We're going to put the pressure back on you. And I think he got that just about right today.
Well, Kamran went on to make 100. Sigh did not, but he also played his part. You've just been speaking to him over there. But that partnership of 149, given they lost 2 early wickets, given what had come into this Test match in terms of selection and selectors and all that sort of stuff. That must have settled that dressing room down enormously.
100%. And then for it to come from a young 22-year-old, remember, Sigh also just playing his 5th test match, and he's got a couple of scores of 50 in Bangladesh, wasn't able to convert. And what was it? 9.4 overs, 19 for 2 Pakistan was. So definitely, I think says a lot about his character as well. I think he will in due course pick up Test cricket temperament and look to convert those starts, because he looks a very, very solid player as well. So I think him along with Kamran, out of the box, the 2 players, one on debut, one 22-year-old with just the 5 test matches under his name, given that dressing room, which was almost turmoil and spiraling down, a lot of calm.
All's good now in Pakistan cricket.
For 5 minutes until tomorrow.
Well, at least the overnight sleep will be very, very nice for everyone.
England were at their most potent today when the ball reverse swung, and they've got 3 seamers. Time will tell on selection who's got it right and who's got it wrong, because both sides have gone in different directions. Does it worry you that Pakistan only have 1 seamer?
That was my biggest concern. I think brought up in commentary as well, that if you were to play the 4 spinners, you could have probably left the grass on and not provide England that assistance, or at least the conditions to bring about the reverse. And I think England's have got the better balanced side, because the only Amir Jamal is Pakistan's seamer. I also feel, I think the timing of this, because we saw the square being shaved immediately after the game ended, and it wasn't until then the new selection committee had come in. So it could have been just the way the timing went, because that gives me the impression that Pakistan probably would have still gone in with the seamers had that initial squad mentality or that initial group stayed together. But I think with that reverse, and we saw, I think Ben Stokes is probably the best exponent of reverse swing, and we saw Kamran Ghulam even in his mid-80s getting troubled by getting squared up every now and then that the ball did reverse. So I think that'll be my concern.
The only caveat there is how much it turns from now on. Having won the toss, if it turns a lot, then you don't miss the reverse swing so much.
Yep.
So from day 3, 4, 5 or late tomorrow, it starts to turn. When they get to bowl on it, you're not thinking, oh, I wish I had a bit of reverse swing. If it stays like it has done today for day 2, day 3 and a bit longer, then you are missing the reverse, because it hasn't spun much. It's just been the odd one. Up front today, Leach was excellent. He was absolutely right to go to Leach up front. He bowled a couple of beauties to get, well, 1 beauty to get his first wicket. So it hasn't spun big. It's just been the odd one that's gripped.